This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
This is my idol. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, everybody. It is Thursday, April 28th, 2022. Yes, a day late. I apologize for getting this out to you guys a little bit later than normal. I put a different show in this place yesterday, so let's get into it. I'm not going to waste your time. Let's get to our first patron and get his thoughts to Kyle. Let's go to Kyle and see what he's got to say this week. Kyle writes in, and he says, "Greetings from Detroit. Kyle here with just a few questions and then a statement. First, do you think that Adam Pearce will put Sonya Deville's job as an official sometime soon? If you look at Adam's Twitter account, he has posted a picture of Sonya slapping Zelina and Carmella backstage with a quote saying, 'Noted, maybe Pearce makes her fight one of them for her job. If not, who could it be? By the way, why are they still together backstage? Quite confusing.' Well, yeah, I don't. That's kind of what I've alluded to of my thoughts in terms of the prediction for Sonya Deville's fate, which should have been. I've said this how many times? Like this should have been addressed day one from upper management. Upper management has been extremely negligent, and until someone actually says anything, they just have been turning a blind eye, which is amazing for a year and a half, however long it's been. But I think, yeah, Adam Pearce is going to put her job on the line. The board is going to reach a decision, and if she can, I don't know, if she loses the match at the next event of WrestleMania Backlash, she will lose her position as a WWE official. That's what I think is going to happen, and I don't know who's going to face her. I don't see Zelina or Carmella being the ones to actually take her job from her. It could be Bianca Belair, perhaps. We'll have to see. I would think Bianca Belair, given that we're so close to the event, would be the one to do it. Second, I feel very strongly that the Usos are taking the titles at Backlash. RK Bro has been winning the matches thus far, which usually means it'll go the other way at the PLE, not PLUH there, Kyle. So it's the play. We call it the play, because that's a really catchy acronym, isn't it, for the premium live event. Do you think there is any chance RK Bro wins? I mean, they surprised us at WrestleMania. I would say there's a chance, yeah. They surprised a lot of us at WrestleMania, including myself, who were completely wrong, thinking that RK Bro was going to start their descent and their disintegration at WrestleMania. We were wrong. Now we have WrestleMania Backlash, and I think it only makes sense that the Usos win. It would bring more gold to the bloodline, continue to solidify that group, and I do not believe that RK Bro is going to win. So, yeah, I do also think that you're right. The logic of having them continually win the matches that are put in front of them on the shows leading up to the pay-per-view or leading up to the premium live event, it also does point in the direction of RK Bro losing. Totally with you on that. And finally, this is a message to Mr. Dennis McGinley, or as I like to call you, Mrs. Denise McGinley. Ain't nobody bowing to you, especially me. Oh boy, here we go. Especially me. The Genesis of Champions. You have to earn respect if you want it. The only thing you've earned from me is a loud sigh every time I hear you try to give a promo. And I wouldn't put you on my trash list. I wouldn't even put you on in my trash can outside. I'd be too embarrassed for the neighbors to see me throwing you out. No one is here willing to stand up to you bullies like you, but I am. I will stand up and you will sit your ass down. Believe it. For I am the Genesis of Champions. Of all championships originate from me. Your title run will soon be a barren wasteland, and maybe this is the first time you are meeting the Genesis, but this is also the last time you are meeting your end. Wow. I have so many rivalries going on this show. I've actually lost track of who's battling who. I would love to somehow referee, like do a guest referee in WWE 2K22 online and have you guys battle it out. I would love it. I have to say, I would love that. Well, thank you so much there, Kyle. Appreciate the comments. And let's get to our next patron.
You think you know me? Never did.
And that is none other than Mr. Dennis McGinley. And he writes in and says, "Hey, Matt, I am the best, the greatest, and the number one heel of this show. Everyone is going to bow to the master of the overrated Patreon of this podcast." Well, gee, hey, wait a minute. Can't attack the host. I'm the creator. I don't think we're overrated. All right. All right. Well, I'm being a big baby. For all you dumb nuts who freaking forgot, I am Mr. Dennis McGinley. So last week, for all you dumb nuts, I love that phrase. I said that last week. It's hilarious. I gave an open challenge for a street fight. All you dumb nuts had to do is walk out of your crazy dumb nut locker and find me. Apparently, you dumb nut, yes, that's what I'm going to call all of you. You can't walk either now. I find I continue to wait for one of you dumb numbskulls to have that fight with no pads. So for Detroit Kyle, I will be up for the battle for the best words or whatever I have to do to beat you. You're going to be the cause of something I do to you. You don't know it is even coming. Get ready to come to grade school. Then Kyle, you will have no other choice but to bow to the master heel. Haha. Talk with all of you numbskulls next week, or even better, Discord chat. You, Pebble, and DJ, and any others that think they should have the saying, bow to the master, you're wrong. I hate the bloodline and the 24/7 thing. Boss man, Matt, I'll talk to you next week. Well, there you have it, everybody. Dennis McGinley throwing down the gauntlet, throwing down the challenge. I'm telling you, this is becoming a very violent and unsafe mailbag. It's becoming crazy, right? All right. Let's jump to a few more of the patron emails, which, by the way, that's a great segue for me to tell you that if you want to get priority placement in the show, go to Patreon. That's one of the other great benefits on top of hundreds of ad-free shows, is that you get priority placement, meaning the beginning of the show, you get your emails read. So also next week, given that it's a pay-per-view week, or I'll never get pay-per-view, still just rolls off the tongue, but Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan are back next week because it's a premium live event week. So don't forget about that. Next Wednesday night. All right, so let's continue on and let's get to Grace. Let's see what Grace has to say. It's always interesting to hear from Grace. She's a lot of fun too because we did a couple of shows together and we'll have to have her back soon. She says, "Hello, Matt and WWE podcast listeners. I had to take a momentary break from Discord and the mailbag due to a very busy schedule, but now I'm happy to be writing into the mailbag once again. First things first. This Raw felt more like a Raw after Mania than the actual Raw after Mania. Love the Asuka return and the Mustafa Ali return. This new Becky-Asuka feud is exactly what the women's division needed. This will be an amazing non-title feud that was heavily needed, and hopefully this particular feud will spark more to come for other women on the roster. I would particularly like to see Asuka as a heel and not a babyface, because when she was active, I think she was better as a heel than she was in the Kabuki Warriors. But for the time being, I'm just glad she's back." Yeah, look, it's a great injection of talent to the roster. I mean, it's great, and another reason why we don't need Ronda Rousey. I know she's on the other brand, but essentially the brand split's dead anyway. So yeah, I mean, Asuka is such a good talent. She's got a bizarre entrance, and I mean bizarre as in like it. I don't know what it really means. It's as if WWE Creative just kind of came up with a cartoon, and then Asuka's like, "Ooh, I want to do that. I do that." And that's all. That's as far as it went, right? But it works. I mean, she is a very flamboyant, cartoonish facial expression type of wrestler, and it works for her, and she's endearing in kind of a strange way. And now I'm talking about her character, right? In the ring, of course, she's world class, but her character I've never really understood, and I'd like her to, and I will continue to say this, expand her knowledge of the English language. I mean, why would you not want to be able to further communicate or better communicate with the audience that you're performing in front of? I think Shinsuke could also learn this as well. And look, they came from a different country, different language. They grew up, I understand that, with a different set of norms. I understand that. But look, if you want to maximize your potential, I think it would benefit you. And I mean you as in those that cannot speak English fluently or even passively. Is that a word? Because you are missing out on you're communicating with your audience. And I understand, well, there's more than one way to communicate. It's through body language. Yeah, that can only take you so far. You can't cut an entire promo just using your eyebrows and your weird facial expressions that Asuka does, or jumping around and dancing around that no one has any idea what she's doing. Okay, I know that a lot of people are probably going to hammer me for this, but I actually was a bit disappointed in her return. Not that it's not great seeing her back. It is, but in kind of just disheartening to see that she's exactly the same, and that she is the exact same, it seems anyway, at the same level she always has been in terms of her English competency. Hilarious that I messed that word up, huh? But she's a bunch of screaming at her promo. Like, she starts out screaming and everyone just kind of cheers or just goes, huh? And we all just let it go. And then the only phrase we all know is, and that's the only phrase apparently that she knows, is, "You're not ready for Asuka." And that's it. Even though it doesn't make any sense half the time she says it, like the placement of it is always awkward. To me, it's a massively missed opportunity, and I think it's going to ultimately hurt her maximum potential, and it has so far. Asuka is still one of the best that WWE has to offer, but could she be even better? The answer is yes. I have a big problem with talent who just don't want to, and I'm assuming it's a not want to, expand their competency in the English language to communicate with the audience that you're performing in front of. That's your audience that's going to make you money and line your pockets. It behooves you. So I just have a big problem with it. I know that English isn't the official language of the United States. I don't care. I'm not getting into any of that. The fact of the matter is the large majority of those that watch WWE, the large majority, especially obviously in North America, are English speaking. And if you don't know how to communicate with your English, okay, I think I made my point. See, I go in circles and I caught myself. See, Grace, you're throwing me on a tantrum. I feel like a child. All right. Yeah, so your second part here, you say, also, I predict there will be a Theory versus John Cena match. There have been rumors about John Cena returning this summer, and there have been a lot of comparison between Theory and Cena, which I think are BS, but I personally think that this will be a good rivalry. Theory has been mentioning Cena lately, so and Cena has replied too. So maybe we see a John Cena versus Theory at SummerSlam. Then at some point, John Cena needs to win the IC championship so he can finally be a Grand Slam champion. That's it for now. Let me know what you think, Grace. Yeah, so I have also heard rumors, not of this actual match between Theory and Cena. I must have missed the boat on that, but that Vince has really taken a liking to Theory, and that's not just on air, that's behind the scenes as well. And that he is viewing Theory as John Cena 2.0. That's how he's viewing it. Now, if that was actually verbalized by Vince, I think that's a bad job out of Vince. I don't like when somebody says, oh, that's the next Shawn Michaels, that's the next Undertaker, that's the next Triple H, that's the next Stone Cold, that's the next... No. Why? Because you are, number one, setting an unrealistic expectation that they should now be and do and look and feel exactly like the person that you're comparing them to, because you're saying they're version 2. And it also waters down their own identity of being whoever they want to be in a wrestling character. I never liked that comparison between Ziggler and Michaels. I think Dolph Ziggler, he has known about it. He even brought it on air. He adopted the sweet chin music almost out of irony and kind of just trolling people to say, okay, you guys say I'm Shawn Michaels, you remind me of Shawn Michaels, then I'll be Shawn Michaels, right? I think that's what that pushed him to do. And I just don't like when people say anybody, and if Vince said this about Theory, that's a bad job. If Vince said that. I've seen it around the horn over the last several days on the newswire, and if that's true, then that's a bad job out of Vince, because you never want to say that. You could say, I hope they become as successful as X person, X wrestler, but you don't want to say they're the next version of that person, because you are completely undermining them right from the get-go. That it automatically, boom, compares in your mind that legend to that person that you're seeing and going, I don't know if they can stack up. It's not a fair way to start off your career. So I don't want to look at Theory as version 2 of John Cena. I don't. because it feels like a knockoff, an inauthentic kind of cheap version of that person. And you don't want that. I never liked that. One of the more cheesy promos from Roman Reigns that I remember that I think it was it during I think it might have been during the very painful John Cena Roman Reigns program that happened, not this past year, but when Roman Reigns was a babyface, and it happened at No Mercy in 2017, 18, somewhere around there. And we had, it might have been even earlier than that. I don't know why, I can't remember what year it was. COVID just has a black hole of 2 years for me. But during that promo, I remember Roman Reigns saying, why would I want to be the next John Cena when I can be the one and only Roman Reigns? I mean, that's such a, it's so cheesy. It's such a scripted line. It makes me want to vomit, but there's truth in that in a different context, meaning behind the scenes in reality. Like, I don't want anyone to be the next version of anybody. Does that make sense? I hope you guys understand that. Maybe I'm just rolling in circles and I've caught myself, and here we go. But as far as that John Cena Theory match, I'm fine with it. I just don't want the narrative in that match to be, if it happens, that Theory's being compared to John Cena the entire time. Because then it's all about John Cena and it's not about Theory, which is the star you're trying to build. So I really hope if they do it, that the narrative is to help elevate Theory. John Cena is more than a made man. He's got nothing left to prove. And if he wins or doesn't win the IC title at some point, it's not going to hurt or help his career, honestly. It would just be another line to his already stacked resume. That's not a make or break. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the best of all time. Might be the best on the mic of all time. I'd love to see. Imagine this, guys. Imagine this. This is something for everyone to chew on. Imagine MJF comes to WWE in January of 2024. MJF has made it abundantly clear that his contract expires with AEW on January 1st, 2024. And we can have the debate whether or not you think he'd come over, or whether it's good for him, or you think Vince would destroy him. I mean, I've heard it all, right? But imagine if MJF is allowed to be MJF against John Cena on the mic. Think about that in 18 months. Just imagine MJF versus John Cena on the microphone. How awesome. I mean, I get chills thinking about it. Not even the match itself. The match itself would be fine, and you could tell a good story in the matchup and all that. It would be the verbal exchange. Much like John Cena, or rather CM Punk and MJF in AEW, their match, the dog collar match they had, was very good, bloody, gory, all that, and it was a good story. But what to me really sold it were the promos. And I think that if John Cena and MJF came face to face, Vince, honestly, if I were Vince, I would pay whatever he wants to have him come here, but with the condition that you don't WWE-ize him. You let him be exactly who he was in AEW. Now, that's, of course, almost impossible for Vince McMahon to do, but if it is possible, and Vince just says, all right, you were very successful in AEW, that's why you were so successful, is because of who you are. Let's just bring you in as that and let you be that. I think it would be great. And if Cody Rhodes is still hanging around, they'd eventually have an interaction. I mean, MJF to WWE, I don't care how many zeros you have to put on that paycheck, on that contract. If I were Vince, I would put as many zeros as is needed to keep MJF or bring him over to WWE on January 1st, 2024. I mean, I feel like I'm going on a whole tangent about that, but many of you don't believe he's the best. Not many of you. Some of you I've talked to don't believe that he's worth that kind of money, or that WWE would destroy him or hamstring him on the microphone or whatever. The fact of the matter is, look, I love AEW, but WWE is still a bigger platform, bigger audience. Still, I mean, I wish all the success in the world of AEW. In fact, I hope that they become competitive with AEW in the ratings, or WWE in the ratings. But okay, let's move on. Thank you, Grace. And let's get to our next email here. And that is, let's see here. Let's get to DJ Kuzmo, another longtime listener and patron of the fam here. And he writes in and says, this is DJ Kuzmo back at it again in your mailbag show with another very brief email that I will try to be brief, but most likely may not be brief. Well, DJ, I got to say, you're not starting out very well, okay? You spent an entire paragraph telling me how brief you're going to be, and then you said you may not be brief. Kind of counterintuitive. However, here we go. All right. Champa, champa, champa. Who is Ciampa? And breaking news. Once again, Vincent Creative chops off another full name from a wrestler, formerly known as Tommaso Ciampa. He will now be known as Ciampa. And there we go again. Vincent Creative insulting our intelligence again. And for those who watched NXT, we remembered that Tommaso Ciampa, or Ciampa, depending on how you pronounce it, was once one of the four pillars of the old school NXT black and gold brand. From a 2019 article mentioned, Ciampa did say that he has no intentions of joining the main roster. Now let's fast forward to February 2022, when Ciampa was featured on Raw while still being a part of NXT 2.0 in matches and feuds with Ziggler and Robert Roode. Then after losing to Tony D'Angelo on the NXT Stand and Deliver PLE on WrestleMania weekend, Ciampa moved up to the main roster the following week on April 11th on Monday Night Raw. On that same night, Ciampa was about to be interviewed backstage when he was interrupted by Ezekiel, Elias, welcoming him to Monday Night Raw. Then Kevin Owens interrupted Ezekiel and Elias, they're one and the same folks, as we all know, to expose the fraud of Ezekiel. The Ciampa sizes up the situation, agrees by saying that he is Ezekiel, Elias, that is Ezekiel, Elias' younger brother. I was absolutely livid of how Creative introduces Ciampa to Monday Night Raw in this absolute nonsensical crap. There wasn't any vignettes for Ciampa, which I don't understand why, because they could have reintroduced him to the Monday Night Raw audience, especially to those that haven't seen him on NXT or don't watch NXT. Then, after taking a week off for whatever creative BS reason, Ciampa shows up and on this week's Raw and attacks a returning Mustafa Ali. Wait, what? Ciampa attacks babyface Ali? What the F? What is the rhyme or reason for this sudden heel turn, and why attack Ali? Doesn't make sense, because so far Ciampa's appearance on Raw has been ho-hum, and we don't know who he is, we don't know what he's about, we don't know who his rhyme or reason is for the heel turn. WWE Creative does this every single time, with the typical start and stop BS for mostly the mid to lower card of the main roster with no investment or long-term character development. Ciampa hasn't even had an official debut match or even cut at least a 5-minute promo. So with that being said, at this long rant, the question still remains, who is Ciampa? Well, it's hilarious in a sad way that Ciampa is now, his fears are being realized on the main roster right off the bat. Because while he said he had no interest coming to the main roster, and why do you think that is? The answer we all know is that they mishandle a lot of NXT call-ups. Many of them have been pink-slipped, right? How many of them have been pink-slipped over the years? WWE or Vince gets a hold of them on the main roster, doesn't know what the hell to do with them, doesn't have a long-term plan at all. Like you said, start-stops, and it doesn't do anybody any favors. Ciampa is the latest victim here of just a complete lack of story attacking Ali, and there's really nothing. If you didn't watch NXT, you have no clue who this person is. None. You have no idea. And you have to go with that assumption because NXT ratings are about half of Monday Night Raw, so a good chunk of your audience watching Raw has no clue who these people are. So wouldn't it behoove you and the audience and storytelling in general to tell them who this guy is that they probably haven't seen? Or like you said, run vignettes. I mean, they don't always have to run vignettes for everybody coming up. I think it's a good formula, but it doesn't have to be an every time formula. And they could still do packages for Raw. I mean, like, they could still, even though he's already quote unquote debuted to the main roster, they could still do packages next week or the week after and continue to just tell you who he is and see backstage interviews and his sit down interview piece by piece every week. Why not? Educate everybody. That's a great way to do it. Just because he's debuted doesn't mean you can't still run video packages to educate people. So that's what I would do. Ronda Rousey, very brief with this one. I can't wait for WrestleMania Backlash to come quickly so that we can hopefully say bye-bye to Ronda after losing again to Charlotte, because this has been one of the most underwhelming returns in recent history. Babyface Ronda is forced, and I've had enough with this failed experiment. Goodbye, good riddance to Ronda. DJ, I have a very sneaking suspicion, a sinking feeling that we're going to see Ronda stick around. In fact, I think she's going to win at Backlash. You can't bring Ronda Rousey back just to lose and then lose again. I don't think that's what they have in mind. I do believe Charlotte is going to be the one to drop the belt to Ronda, and then Charlotte's going to go feud with a returning Lacey Evans. That's my thought. So get ready for more Ronda, DJ. That's my thought anyway. Sonya, I'm going on another rant here. Oh boy. Because I am sick and tired of Sonya Deville being an official while at the same time competing in the ring. And then she wants to restart the match and, quote, make life harder for Bianca. Her stint as a WWE official is long overdue to come to an end. I don't understand why Adam Pearce or upper management couldn't have released Sonya from her duties as an official. There was an opportunity for Sonya to lose her job role if there was a stipulation in her match with Naomi a couple of months ago, but nothing, absolutely nothing came of it. What the F, WWE? It's time for Sonya to be released from being an official and return back to full-time in-ring wrestling. She has overstayed her welcome as an official. It's time to say goodbye and good riddance to Sonya's current role as an official, because all the power that she's wielding is going to her head, making her ego as inflated as a hot air balloon. And maybe, just maybe, when Sonya gets fired, Drew Gulak can receive the new role, but for now, it's just a pipe dream. Before we get to your final point, DJ, yeah, I mean, I've been saying this for weeks now. It's more than that it doesn't make any sense that upper management hasn't done anything about her, like, at all. I mean, why is it the responsibility of the wrestlers to try to take her out of power? Shouldn't the boss or bosses above Sonya be the ones to, evaluate the performance of their subordinates? I mean, again, the board of directors, why are they an absentee board of directors? Where's Vince? Why is nobody saying anything, complaining? I mean, yeah, there's an investigation, quote unquote, but then she slaps two wrestlers this week of Carmella and Naomi, or Carmella and Zelina Vega, and nothing is done. And then she says, well, I'm an official. Well, wait a minute. What about self-defense? What about physical provocation? Why? I mean, there's just no logic to this. I mean, even Eric Bischoff, who was one of the best heel Raw commissioners or GMs of all time, he didn't abuse it this bad, or at least this egregiously, to the point where it's like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. How does this make sense from any perspective? Okay, but let's move on and end it on a high note. The women's division. With the return of Asuka on Raw and the upcoming in-ring returns of Bayley and Lacey Evans, the women's division on the main roster will finally be fully stacked since before the COVID era. We've got Becky, Charlotte, Sasha, Naomi, and Bianca at the top of their game. Then you have Asuka returning, a returning Bayley, Lacey, Rhea, Liv, Natalya, Carmella, Zelina, Tamina. I feel like I'm rhyming here. Am I doing like a rap? Am I being punked out right now? Dana, Sonya, Shayna, Xia Li. Yeah, what's with the heel turn? Well, she's only protecting herself, DJ, because she did such a great job protecting everybody else. I mean, she did her hayas and her lightning strikes that she was able to, produce with her hands in her entrances. She learned a lot of that from Johnny Cage and Kung Lao and Sub-Zero. Maybe she'll be able to freeze her opponents next week or something. If you guys didn't understand those references, then we probably weren't friends in the late 90s. Okay, let's see. Also, wait a minute. Aaliyah, I wasn't done yet. Raquel, Nikki Trash. Ooh, I like that. Doudrop, where's she? Alexa, who is probably on her way out. And also, WWE has a deep women's division of talented wrestlers on NXT 2.0 that could be featured in dark matches, backstage segments, Royal Rumble spots, or main roster debuts. The future is promising for the entire women's division of the WWE, and hopefully they could bring back the Women's Evolution Premium Live event. I hope they do. I don't know why they never brought back the women's. Honestly, I remember watching that, and I was just so impressed with the women of the entire pay-per-view. It was amazing. It was probably, from a wrestling perspective, one of the best pay-per-views of the year. It was so successful. I don't know why they didn't bring it back. Why, I don't understand it. Why was that a one-off? It didn't make sense. I didn't like how Stephanie had to be the center of everything, where they all come out like community theater and take a bow at the end. That was effing stupid. And it completely undermined everything that they just accomplished by. It's like if you go to like any kind of play, right? Any play. You go to Shakespeare, you go to Lion King, wherever in your local community theater, and at the end, all the performers come back out for one last bow. I mean, that's what they did. It was awful. That is terrible. You don't do that. But in the interest of expanding the brand, we're all going to take a bow, and Stephanie's going to be at the center of it, as if she had anything to effing do with the women's movement. The women's movement, by the way, was something that the fans started organically on the internet, on Twitter, by giving hashtag Give It Divas a chance. That's how it happened. Not because of Stephanie McMahon. Now, she had a role in probably helping talent, of course, with their promos or helping with creative on some level. But if Stephanie McMahon is going to ever take credit, as if symbolically she did at that pay-per-view, again, it's sickening. She had nothing to do with that movement. That was an organic movement that came out of people's frustrations with WWE's treatment of women. Okay, lastly and definitely very least, I left her name off the division because she needs to go, and I'm talking about none other than Ronda. Wait, didn't you just say this, DJ? Say it with me, folks. Na 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 na, na 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 na. Hey, 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 goodbye. Yeah, I got you there. See, bet you didn't think I'd sing. This is DJ Kuzmo signing off, and yes, your voicemail. Okay, so, DJ, yeah, look, I don't think she's going anywhere. I really don't. I'm sorry, DJ. I think she's here to stay, and in fact, she's going to win the belt. Sorry. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're wrong. Or I'm sorry, I hope you're right, and I hope I'm wrong. I want you to be right. I feel like they wouldn't bring Ronda back, lose at Mania, and then lose in an I Quit match. You're going to bring in their MMA performer. They're going to call her the baddest woman on the planet, and then also have her at the same time say I quit. Yeah, think about that. They're not going to do that. And I don't think Ronda would agree to that. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see here. Charlie F. from Wisconsin. This is to Dennis McGinley. Oh, here we go. Boy, Dennis, you are stirring up some crap on this show, I got to say. You wanted a bee's nest. Here they come. You overrated tater nut. Where do you guys come up with this stuff? This is like, where do you guys come up with these terms? Okay, last week you called for a street fight open challenge with the great of Wisconsin. I accept your challenge. Name the time and the place, and it shall take place, and I'll see you there. Hope everyone has a great week. Always remember to keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Are you kidding me, Charlie? We don't say that kind of just blasphemy on this show. I'm sorry, we don't say that kind of blasphemy on the show. We don't tell people to keep their feet on the ground and reach for the stars. Are we in a Saturday morning special here? Are you going to tell me the more you know? Are you going to do like some kind of I don't know, children's message? Like what are we going to do? Story time next? Come on, Charlie. I really hope you're just trying to get the rise out of me. But the challenge has been laid down to Mr. Dennis McGinley again. I mean, it's going to be a handicap match at this point, Dennis. You've got yourself in trouble. You poke the bear, and now you got a family of bears. All right. Let's see here. Let's go to Jim from PA. He writes and says, I have a couple of ideas for the upcoming PLEs, the Plus, involving Roman Reigns, number one contender, not counting Backlash, but at June's it will be him versus Drew, with the match ending in a DQ or countout. That will set up July's Roman and Drew 2, with the match ending the same way. Then SummerSlam inside Hell in a Cell, Drew will win the Universal title because the USA Network will get upset that they don't have a title on their network, and that's when you will see the Money in the Bank winner Cody Rhodes cash in and win the WWE title. My final idea on Roman's turn is before we get to that, it's possible. I mean, here's the thing though, I think the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view is close. If I'm not mistaken, I mean, they moved up that Hell in a Cell pay-per-view to like early summer, didn't they? So Hell in a Cell wouldn't take place at SummerSlam. It's sadly its own pay-per-view, its own premium live event. So I don't hate it, and I think that they are going to get to Drew and Roman very soon. I mean, they teased it this past week with Drew finally mentioning the bloodline, and then having Roman or Sami Zayn snitch to Roman on Drew about what he said, and saying everybody better take put some respect on their name and get their names out of their mouth, all that stuff. And so it's coming. And Roman and Drew have been working house shows and live events for many, many weeks now, I think, in preparation for their long-term feud that's going to go on at least for a few months. And it could culminate at SummerSlam. You're absolutely right. I think it could too. But Cody Rhodes getting the Money in the Bank, I'd like it. I like it. So my final idea on Roman's run is he goes until the event in London, then loses to Gunther. Anybody that says Gunther, you're immediately banned from the show. I called, or a couple of weeks ago, someone had emailed about who from the main roster will appear on NXT. I think it will be the Usos to help their brother Solo Sikoa. And finally, has Mimi ever thought about doing an AEW mailbag? So sorry to make it shorter than so sorry it's so long. Make it shorter next week. You don't have to make it. I mean, that was definitely manageable there, Jim. No problem there. That really wasn't bad. So no problem. Yeah, I don't know if she's ever thought about that. You know, I don't know. Why don't you tweet at her? Why don't you? It's her show. I know that she's under the WWE Podcast Network, but she has her own show. She does an excellent job. Why don't you tweet at Mimi? Everybody, if you want an AEW mailbag, maybe she can incorporate it on her weekly wrap-up that she does now on Saturdays or Sundays. Sometimes it's one of the weekend days she gets to it. Maybe she can make that part of the weekly wrap-up. I don't think she'll be able to do a separate show. She's as busy as I am. But if you want her to incorporate it in the weekly wrap-up /mailbag, then tweet at her. If you want her Twitter handle, let me make sure I get this correct. It is exactly what you'd expect, at Mimi Burris, at MIMI Burris, Burris. So there you go. If you want Mimi to do an AEW mailbag, then abso-freaking-lutely have her tweet at her and say, we demand an AEW mailbag. That's usually the best way to get something from somebody, is just demand it, right? I'm being a bit facetious. Okay. Let's see here. We are going to go to... I'm going to go and take a look here. I just lost my spot. Jim was... Oh, we just did Jim. Wes. Let's see what Wes has to say. I hope the listeners are well. You and the listeners are well. Would you like to see... Who would you like to see join Edge and Damian Priest in the Judgment Day faction? I'd like to see Demon Finn Balor join them. Besides being a good fit, I think it would make him relevant again and halt the downward trajectory he seems to be on at the moment. I think Rhea Ripley would also be a good addition. Yeah, look, well, thank you, Wes. And I'm glad you brought this up. You know, my initial reaction to Finn Balor joining this group is mixed, because while Finn Balor is a big star, he's excellent in the ring. He's excellent on the microphone. People forget how good he is on the mic. People know how good he is in the ring, but WWE has taken away, one of the big tools he has in his tool bag, which is his promo ability. And I think people forget that. Now it's a big star, and it would help grow that brand, or grow that group. That'd be great. But here's the only issue I have with it is this. Edge is at the stage of his career where he's clearly, he wanted to do something different. He wanted to show a different side of him. He allowed fans for a couple of years to get out their cheers for him, see the Edge they all wanted to see, hear this entrance music, which I think Edge has one of the best entrance musics of all time in terms of his babyface music. But the purpose that he's in now is the give back stage, of the help build the next generation of star phase. And while Damian Priest is no spring chicken, I know he's not young. He's pushing 40. He's still a young star in terms of being on TV, not an actual age. But Damian Priest still has some good years ahead of him. Damian Priest still has a lot of good years ahead of him. And he's still, while again, Damian Priest isn't 20, he still is new in terms of WWE's eyes and WWE's fans' eyes. So if the point of the group is to not just show another side of Edge before he calls it a career and give it his one last great heel run with I'm loving this Edge character, by the way. And the other dual purpose is to help build new stars. To me, Finn Balor's already a big star. Could he be elevated again? But yeah, he could. But Finn is also kind of established. So if you're going to help bring in new talent, wouldn't you have somebody from NXT, come in and join this group? Again, I'm not opposed to it. I don't hate it. But if your goal is to help build new stars, then, Finn all you're doing is just taking an established overstar and trying to get him to that next level. And do you really want him looking subordinate to Edge? You know, like, yeah, it would be something for Finn to do rather than getting the pink slip. And I would agree. I'd rather have him do that than, you know, get kicked out the door or lose every week. But I just don't like the feeling of having Finn Balor, even in the Demon, especially the Demon, actually, while it would fit the darkness of the group, if he's a subordinate under Edge, really? I mean, the undefeated Demon, yeah, I know he lost to Roman, but outside of that, undefeated, that's the part that I struggle with. You know, this isn't some up-and-coming star. Like, Finn Balor's been around the horn. He's been around. He actually went to NXT and came back and felt brand new to me. And he just, yeah, so that's the issue I have. But I'd love, Rhea Ripley is fine. She's still kind of up and coming. I think Rhea Ripley would be a nice addition. People keep talking about that. I even had a video on that on my TikTok that's growing quickly now. We're getting like, you know, at least 1 or 2 followers a day. I mean, I'm joking. We're getting like probably 20 followers a day. Yeah, it's not bad, right? I mean, like, you know, for somebody that just throws up a video every now and then, join us on TikTok. People, you know, of course, the internet is just so kind with things I say, but join us there at TikTok. It's at the WWE Podcast, by the way. So anyway, let's move on. Lots of speculation. The only thing I would say about Rhea Ripley is I have a problem with females joining a male group if it can't be, if men can't retaliate against the women. If she's going to go and help beat down men every week, and the men never retaliate because she has this mythical protective shield because she's a woman, I have a problem with that. Okay, I have a big problem with that. But if it's just her who maybe she captures the women's championship and holds it hostage, she kind of has her own set program going on, but she's also part of this group, then I'm okay with that too. I just don't want her being able to be protected by her gender. Okay, I don't like that, especially in pro wrestling. A fantasy environment, guys. You know, the pretend environment. I'm not advocating for domestic abuse. Okay, I have to say that every time because somebody out there is going to say I am. But all right. Let's continue on here, and I don't think we have too many more emails, but let's make sure that I got everybody. I think I've got everybody here. Hold on. Somebody out there saying, me. I think that's it. Wait. Did I get Terry from Tennessee? That's an old email from April 19th. So, Terry, I don't think I missed you. I think I got you last week. You have April 19th. So, yeah, I did. Okay. So that is it for the emails, guys. Let's jump right into the good old fashioned voicemails. And we got to start with our patron, Mr. DJ Kuzmo. Let's see what he's got to say. Everybody, if you're sleeping at this point, you're about to wake up. So either turn down your volume or you're about to get startled awake. Either way, here we go.
Hello, WWE Podcast World. This is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag show, recording to you live once again on a Tuesday evening. And once again, it's that time again, folks, for the Veer Mahan Report. And the Veer Mahan Report tonight has been brought to you by one of the newest podcasters to hit the WWE official podcast, and that is the WTFW podcast with our guys, Kanye Twitty and the Mean Lion, as they break it down with the trash list, with the fire list, and with me serving them up with the good old-fashioned lunchable breaks. So if you're sick and tired of some boring analytical wrestling shows, this is not your show, because this right here, the WTFW podcast, are filled with the trash and the fire and the lunchable breaks. Oh, of their hot takes of what they saw on AEW Dynamite, on Rampage, and all the shows in the WWE, NXT, Raw, and SmackDown. Get on and listen to the WTFW podcast. So far, they got 3 episodes in the books, and all have been awesome. I can't wait for episode 4 to see who will be on the trash list, who will be on the fire list, and of course, serving them up with the good old-fashioned lunchable breaks. Get on the WTFW podcast. Now, let's get back to the Veer Mahan Report. And just like every other night, Veer Mahaan once again victorious in a 47 to 48 second squash match of a guy by the name of Sam Smothers, good old Sam Smothers from Knoxville, Tennessee. And once again, he hit him so hard with that golden arm, that $1 million arm clothesline, and of course to put him in a submission hole with the camel clutch. Not just once when he forced him to tap out, not just twice when he did it outside the ring, but a third time when Veer Mahaan put Sam Smothers on the announce table. I thought that he was about to hit some sort of body slam or frog splash, but then when I saw that he went for that hole once again, and once again strangling the life out of his opponent, Veer Mahaan is 3-0. And let's see what happens next week on Monday Night Raw as he continues his undefeated streak. Now, I hope to see that eventually the creative does something in terms of getting him above these enhancement talent, because sad to say, outside, well, I would say Dominic Mysterio, he's a nobody, and of course Jeff Brooks from last week, and now Sam Smothers. These are nobodies. It's time, slowly but surely, for Veer Mahaan to get to, let's say, the creme de la creme of the 24/7, I guess? Who knows? But I want to quickly finish up this rant here with the return of Mustafa Ali. Man, oh man, did he cut a sweet old promo on Austin Theory. That's what I'm still going to call him, Austin Theory. With that being said, folks, I hope you all have a blessed week, and I'll talk to you next time.
Well, there it is. You guys are now awake. I can guarantee that. Whatever you're doing, you're now paying attention. If I put you to sleep the first 43 minutes, well, guess what? DJ was there to shake you awake, and here we are. So, DJ, thank you for the Veer Mahaan report. I feel like I said this last week. I think I need some of that, like that breaking news music. You know, like here. This is maybe what we need. See, that's what I'm thinking of. Something like that. I feel like every time you give me the Veer Mahaan report, we need a little bit of some of that generic news music, right? But thank you for the Veer Mahaan report. Yeah, and I agree that I think right now it's time for him to move into at least the main roster. Stop giving us local talent. Stop giving us literally like nobodies. Give us at least the lower card of the main roster. Give us somebody that they can feed on a weekly basis to Veer Mahaan and get away from the local talent. I don't think they're probably done with it, maybe one or two more times, but eventually they have to get to the lower card. And then, if, like you said, work their way up slowly. Because Veer Mahaan, we don't know exactly what he is. We know he's foreign. We know he's nasty. He's got a good set of hair, and he's dominant. That's all we know right now. That's it. And it took him like 8 years to get here. That's all. So that's we need to build, and I'm cool with the slow build. This is not a rant on Veer Mahaan. I think that there could be something there. But, I mean, as far as Mustafa's promo, you forget how good he is on the mic, right? I mean, we all thought he was gone. We forgot where he was, and here he goes. Boom, shows up, drops a good promo. Babyface again. Tommaso Ciampa, or just Ciampa now, attacks him, and then we're off to the races with those two. So, thank you, DJ. And as for the promo, as always, thank you. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you next week, brother. Take care, and let's continue on.
Hey, it's Kyle from Baltimore. So I'm middle watching SmackDown right now, and just from watching this episode, it's almost over now. I was watching the women's division. It's super babyface lacking. It's like a lot of top baby faces. There's Sasha and Naomi, who, and there's Sasha and Naomi, Raquel Rodriguez, who's debuting next week, and that's it. They just look like Xia Li. It's going to be a heel after she finally came back after disappearing. Aaliyah doesn't mean anything, but they have all these heels in Charlotte and Shayna and Natalia who don't mean anything. And I guess also Ronda as a babyface as well. I guess my point is that it's just lacking big time baby faces for Charlotte to face. But even if I think Ronda's going to win. It's going to win the championship, so probably. But it seems like to me it's just a lot of less baby faces, a lot of heels in the women's division, at least on SmackDown. They look over at Raw, so that Becky's going to come back on Raw on Monday, so hear from her. Kind of shocked about that. Thought they'll wait a little bit longer. And there's, Bianca's baby face, and then there's all these heels. in Sonya and Rhea and Becky. Top 3 heels I could think of from my brain on Raw. So I guess my thing is that they need something to change with the women, at least, or snap them with credible baby faces. I'll do thoughts on that. Thanks for my call. Bye.
Hey, Kyle. Well, they got Lacey Evans back. She's about to re-debut again in this new kind of a more authentic version of herself. So she's on her way back shortly. There's another babyface for you. What about Bayley? Now, I know Bayley is traditionally a heel. She left as a heel, but if she is brought back as a babyface, fans, I think, would accept it. Bayley is hanging out there. Asuka just returned to Raw. So they got some babyfaces on the horizon here. What if Sasha Banks and Naomi disintegrate, right? What if that team eventually breaks up, which I think they will? Sasha's instantly a babyface. Naomi's instantly a babyface. So they've got some players. They've got some players, and I think they certainly don't need Ronda Rousey. There, I've said it the 14th time for this episode. So thanks, Kyle. Let's continue.
Hello, everyone. It's your former and next European champion, Alex, the French guy. You guessed it. I wanted to address some guys this week and not just send a message. First, I will just remind you that at WWE Backlash, not WrestleMania Backlash, that's not the real name, with me, I will get my hand on my precious and on my European Championship against the Pebble at the end of this month, but that's just a given. So I'm not going to address the Pebble as I did formerly. So because there's a lot of people, especially 2 people who addressed that stolen gimmicks like the Pebble is no original, no inspiration, just copy and paste some gimmick that is pathetic of the Pebble. And yes, maybe you guessed who I'm talking about. I'm talking about you, Detroit Kyle, Genesis. I don't want to fight you. I just wanted to say that I agree with the point that you're making with a lot of dumb nuts. Of course, I'm talking about you, Mr. McGinley. I don't even have to pronounce the name, but I agree with you on this one. I would gladly challenge you, but for the moment, I agree on your take against an original character like Dennis or the Mr. The Pebble, which I can't find anyway. With that out of the way, yes, I just wanted to address that at the end of the month, I'm going to have my championship and be the champion that you deserve, that I am truly. With that out of the way, I just wanted to say also, not against you, Matt, but with you, on a more serious, quote unquote, serious note. I like your After Dark podcast. It really reminds me of a podcast in France, which was a lot alike about our stories, like spicy stuffs, and very good, like sharing with the boys and everything. That show was there was a banger in France. It was really successful, and it really reminds me of that. And I just can't wait for the mailbag of this show. I know it's not.
No, you got cut off. You got 3 minutes. You just missed it, Mr. French guy. Alex, the French guy, you just missed that cutoff. I'm glad you're enjoying After Dark. I am planning on dropping another episode in the next day or two, and it'll be more of the same. I don't know. I don't know if you guys want to hear spring break stories every single time, so I don't know if I'll change it up and do other stuff and just whatever the hell I feel like at the time, right? It's just such a. I got to say, it's weird, cussing with you guys, because for so many years I've had to just do PG and to just give you guys an insight into things that have happened to me in my life, especially in spring break and throughout my life. And my God, what maybe I'll do? Here's something I'm going to do that's just crazy, right? How about this? I'm going to give you a topic. I just thought of the topic for the next episode. So here is the next After Dark episode. And I'm going to say this in the most PG way that I can in case family and friends are listening. And let's just say I'm going to give you guys a hilarious story about my my first time, with, you get the rest. I think you got it. It's hilarious, at least to me. And I can't believe I didn't think about this. So there it is. The next episode on After Dark, the After Dark WWE podcast, which is only available right now on Patreon and on my website. So if you want to hear After Dark, there's already 2 episodes. I'm going to be dropping the 3rd one in the next day or two. Head on over to patreon.com/WWE podcast and get yourself, you can get it for $1. The After Dark is also available in the $1 tier, as well as on our website. Go VIP on our website and you can get the, that After Dark show. And my next one will be my very first. Let me just leave it at that. It's going to be crazy. It's just nuts. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. It's uncomfortable, but it's also, it takes the chains off. I can just just say whatever. And this one's going to be fun. Good Lord. I haven't thought about it in a while. So anyway, all right. Well, thank you, Alex French guy. And I got to say, you guys are going wild here. How did you decide who lost the championship? Like, did this take place in WWE 2K22? Like, how? I'm not sure how you guys are changing belts here. I'm not sure what's happening. But anyway, thanks, guys. Thank you for the feedback. And let's get to the next voicemail here.
Hey, Matt. What's going on? Strong Hawk from New Jersey, one of your patrons. First, I haven't been on, so I do apologize. Work's been like a pain in the ass. But, as always, hope all is well. I was thinking, maybe you could do, a request. I was thinking maybe being on for one of the After Dark shows for, say, around, end of May-ish, the week, 27th, which is a Friday. I was wondering if I could maybe come on by and do that with you, because I've always wanted to, really let out my feelings on the product, on the topic, wherever the topic is. And I thought I'd bring up something else. So basically, Seth Rollins should, be babyface. It depends on what they storyline they do. And also hearing about Xylee maybe being here, I'm not sure. She's still new to the brand, new to the company. It all depends what they do, how they give her a push, and what approach they will do for the product itself. Seeing as they have these new faces like Gunther, Xylee, Raquel, and Butch. Obviously, I know that Pete Boone's that's seen him in NXT UK. But yeah, hopefully they can try something new and see what happens. But yeah, thanks for letting me put in this voice now. As always, take care. God bless.
Hey, buddy. Well, thanks for the comments. And I haven't thought about bringing somebody on for After Dark. I really haven't. If you want to focus on the product, maybe we can squeeze something out. My After Dark shows are, 20, 30 minutes. So that's probably the time length that we would go. Shoot me an email at you can do my real WWE podcast at gmail.com, or you can do mailbag at WWEpodcast.com, either one. Shoot me an email. Maybe we can work something out for a guest on the uncensored, unfiltered After Dark show. But cool idea. And all right. Thanks for the comments, and take care. Hope all's well with you as well. And I will talk to you soon. Let's keep it rolling.
Hello, everyone. This is Memphis Mark calling from Mullet Manor. Actually, not too bad of a complaint this week. Raw, I actually thought was constructed, and what I mean by that, to do a show, you have to, construct a whole show. You have to introduce your characters, your storylines, your plots, and they haven't been doing that very well. And I believe this past Monday was one of the better ones that I can think of, I'd say, in the last 5 or 6 weeks. So that's pretty much my, if I can rant and say bad things about you, oh gosh, I should be able to say good things about you. But I didn't know if a lot of people actually understood the lineage of Randy Orton. You know, you have his grandfather, Bob Sr., then there was Bob Jr., then there was Randy, and then there was also an uncle in there, Barry. And they all, like the Big O, the grandfather, you know, he teamed with Eddie Graham in the Florida area and was really big back in the day. And then here comes Cowboy Bob Orton, which was, to me, was most famous for having a cast on for like 9 years. But, you know, they both wrestled in the AWA, the NWA, and then the version of the NWA, you know, that ended up becoming pretty much the WWF. So, I mean, and Bob Orton Jr., Cowboy Bob, he was great. He was Piper's bodyguard, I believe, in 83, 84, somewhere. No, I think it was 84, 85. You had, he was in WCW in the early part of the 80s and was had a big, you know, bunch of big fights with Dick Slater and Race and Harley Race and Ric Flair. So really good. So he did great. Of course, everybody knows Randy's achievements. The Uncle Barry, he wrestled under the mask as a Zodiac for a long time, and he wrestled in several of the organizations. But he ended up having a DUI and a female that was in the car with him passed, and it pretty much got him kicked out of the WWF. So that's the reason you never heard of him. But Randy, of course, you know, we're all lucky to have somebody like that. That's a generational talent. But his father was involved with Mr. T and Hulk Hogan, and, you know, back in some, if you get a chance, go back and look. Snuka, Orndorff, any of them. Just go back and watch Cowboy Bob. Anyway, guys, hope everyone's having a great day, and remember to, of course, spay and neuter, and I'm out.
Gotta love it. Thank you, Memphis Mark. Hope all is well over there in Mullet Manor. And this is such, it's so great to hear about these things that I had no idea regarding, and I say this every week because you give us a history lesson that 95% of us have no clue about, which is great. And Cowboy Bob Orton, I think we all knew, obviously Randy, but as far as his uncle, that I had no clue. And I'm guessing that most of us listening had no clue about Randy Orton's uncle. But given the story you told us about the DUI and the girl that he was with in the car died, yeah, I mean, that makes total sense that they would just kind of erase that entire thing from Orton's legacy, no pun intended. But yeah, we are all lucky to have Randy Orton right now. And, you know, before I talk about Randy, I do want to say when you talk about Raw and how it was structured well, I agree. I mean, I came on Raw and I said this was the best Monday Night Raw I've seen in months. Not just, I mean, you said 5 weeks. For me, it was months. I mean, that was such a good Monday Night Raw. I gave it like an A-. It was great. And it felt like a true Raw after WrestleMania. But, you know, we forget as fans how difficult it is to produce a quality show that's 3 hours every week. I mean, we just take it for granted. I just have this and that. It's easy. You just throw this and that. It's not. 3 hours is a bear. I mean, I do not envy the creative. I do not envy the production team. Nobody. That's a long-ass show to have to put together to do a quality show that holds your attention the entire time. And, hey, the stars align every once in a while, and it did on Monday night. And, I don't expect the same quality of show next week just because that's just the trend. But it was certainly a really good show that I think we can hang our hat on from last week. So thank you, Memphis Mark. And I hope all's well on your end. And I'll talk to you next week. Let's keep rolling, baby.
Hey, man. How you doing? This is Justin from Maryland. Just wanted to get my thoughts on a couple of topics that's been going on. So first, it looks like that they're setting up Roman versus Drew. I don't know if you saw, but we got another spoiler for the SmackDown tapings. Apparently, there's going to be a brawl between Roman and Drew at the end of SmackDown coming up. So it looks like we're getting that feud. I don't know what happened to Shinsuke. I actually didn't see that he was one of the lumberjacks in that match with Drew and Sammy, and that's actually sad because what was the point of him coming out to interrupt Roman, and then they don't even go anywhere with that. So it looks like that they're going with, I guess, Drew and Roman. I think they'll probably wait until Money in the Bank because it's 2 weeks left. I think that they'll probably have the Unification Tag Title match headline the Backlash show. So they'll probably move that to Money in the Bank. And that'll be interesting. I don't think Drew will win. So I guess we'll see where that goes. Next, Oscar returning was definitely nice. First feud with Becky's going to be good. So I guess that means that Bayley's going to SmackDown whenever that helps. Oscar definitely going to help the women's division. Definitely looking to see her feuding with Becky and Rhea Ripley, Bianca, of course. And where's Alexa Bliss? I feel like she's going to come back hopefully soon, and then, they can have a feud as well. So the Ali return, that was cool too. I thought that they were going to set him up to face Theory, but it looks like Ciampa's going to be his first feud. Maybe they're trying to set up some sort of multi-man match at Backlash or the next or something, because The Miz, Theory, and then those two. But that's definitely good that he came back. He's definitely a good worker and a good talker, so that's good to see. Finally, I want to talk about Finn Balor. It sucks that he lost again, and I was disappointed to not see AJ Styles show up. I guess they're trying to sell that arm injury, but I want to see AJ Styles, attack Edge or help Finn Balor or something. Hopefully this sets up Finn. They'll have a tag match between AJ and Finn against Edge and Damian Priest after Backlash. So that should be cool, but it's just sad that Finn keeps losing. He's a good talent. Hopefully either he joins Edge or he fights against Edge. So, I think that's it, man. RKOs were cool. It was kind of predictable, but it's always good to see. So, that's it, man. Just wanted to...
Hey, Justin. So, I know you're not the closer tonight. You actually had a few people ahead or behind you. Normally, you are the closer because you usually send in the voicemail last. This week, I have to say you are not the closer, but that's okay. That's okay. We're changing things up. We are on the back nine of our voicemails here. We're almost done, but okay, let's talk about a few things that you talked about. As far as what happened to Shinsuke, who the hell knows? I mean, I know the answer. The answer is they had nothing to fill the TV time for someone to come out. They had no idea who to come out to face Roman in that segment a couple of weeks ago, and Shinsuke was kind of fell in their lap after Boogs got injured, and they're like, oh, Shinsuke's available, let's do it. And then it went nowhere. I think he was just a stand-in, and they're gonna pretend it didn't happen. They didn't do any preview or reviews of it or replays of it this week. It's as if it didn't exist or happen. So I'll be shocked if they bring it back up. He was just a fill-in for the week. They had no plans. And they won't. And it's going to be Roman and Drew, I think, now for the next 3 months. But like you said, I think their first encounter is not going to be at Backlash. It's going to be at Money in the Bank and or Hell in a Cell, then SummerSlam. Definitely yes. Where's Alexa? Yeah, who the hell knows either. I mean, maybe she's back in therapy. Maybe she's back at her playground. I don't know. She must be so frustrated from a creative standpoint. They bring her back. She goes away. She comes back and she sits backstage for 5 months and spins her riddles and rhymes and has her dolls winking. And can we get her in the effing ring? Isn't that who she is? She's a professional wrestler, right? Am I wrong on that? No? Yeah. Why don't we have her actually wrestle? That'd be great. Do what she was actually hired to do. So, that'd be really nice. It's getting absolutely absurd. And I'm not mad at Lexi Kaufman. I'm mad at Alexa Bliss. I'm angry with creative. I'm just perplexed that they don't have anything for her. But yeah, Bayley definitely is going to SmackDown. I'm with you. If we had Asuka come to Raw, Bayley definitely going to SmackDown. As far as I like your AJ and Finn Balor teaming up proposal. I can't believe I didn't think of it before. As always, you bring things to the forefront that are obvious that I don't think of because you're smarter than I am. And that's AJ and Finn teaming up. Now, many people just speculate, and I talked about it at the beginning of the show, that Finn's going to join this Judgment Day group, and he may ultimately still do that. But in the interim, it's going to be fun to see AJ and Finn go against Edge and Damian Priest. Now, that's not a match that's advertised or that's going to happen yet. at least imminently, but it's certainly one, as you said, Justin, that's probably going to be coming in the next couple of weeks or months, rather, probably after the pay-per-view. So anyway, premium live event. Let's see. God, I won't get used to that. So anyway, thank you, Justin. Good points as always. Let's continue on.
Hey, Matt, this is Robert from WWE Ringside Podcast, and I just have a couple of points that I want to try and talk about. First one is Veer Mahan. I feel like he's last year's Omos, or this year's Omos, I want to say it. They're making him very powerful, 30-second squash matches, and I don't think he's been knocked on his feet yet in any of his matches yet. Do you think that they are going to book themselves into a corner, kind of like they did with Omos, just making him too powerful that he can't be stopped? I think that he needs to be beaten at some point before a year goes like they did with Omos. The next point I wanted to talk about was the ranking systems that was rumored this week that WWE is going to release. And I'm excited for the ranking system. I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on the ranking system and how you think it's going to change the competition that WWE produces or makes. I feel like they're not going to do 50-50 booking as much, so it could be really good for quality matches. Just want to kind of get your thoughts on the ranking system as well. And the last one is, do you think we're going to get Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns in the near future? One way that I could see it going is here at Backlash when the Usos beat RK Bro. We're all expecting the Riddle turn or Orton turn at that point or around that point. But what if they stay together and Orton is upset that the Usos took their title, so he goes after their head of the table, Roman Reigns, and Orton is jealous that he didn't get the shot, so he screws Randy when Randy faces against Roman, and then we get the Riddle versus Orton match then. So I just want to kind of get your thoughts on those three things. And yeah, have a good one.
Hey, Robert, from the WWE Ringside Podcast. I like the name. Sounds familiar, but anyway, thank you, buddy. And so a few points here. You had a few questions regarding ranking system, Orton and Veer Mahan. So do I think that he is this year's do I think Veer Mahan is this year's Omos? Yes and no. So the thing is, they usually have a monster heel somewhere. Every year they seem to have a monster heel where they're just doing the typical formulaic wrestling 101 logic of bringing in somebody big and having them squash, maybe for months on end. They did it with Braun Strowman, and they're doing it now with Veer Mahan. It's not a bad formula. It's a proven formula. But if you're worried that they're going to book him into a corner like Omos, I'm not worried about that. Why? Omos is limited by his insane size. Veer Mahan is not 7 feet. He's not 400 pounds. He's a big dude, but he's, I think, more athletic than Omos. Omos was doing squash matches, partly because they wanted to get him over, but also partly because he's simply not ready to get in the ring, and he's extremely limited because of his size. Veer Mahan, I think, has more mobility. He's a bigger guy, but he has more athleticism, which means he can work with more people and have better matches, which means they'll have more opponents lined up for him versus Omos. So that's the difference. The other thing you had a question about was the ranking system. And yeah, it's not just a rumor. I actually got a survey, as many did, from WWE asking, we need your opinion on things. And I'm like, okay. And there it was, asking if they implemented a ranking system, would we like that? Would we want to see it? And I said yes, as I'm sure many of fans also did too. And I think, they're gauging fans first. They should reach out to us for how we feel about things and the ideas that they have, and that, not that they need to run everything by us, but, it's a big thing to implement. Here's the thing. I'm not against it. I think it's a good idea, but given the fact that they can't ever adhere to their own rules, I have my concerns that if they put this ranking system together, that they're going to fudge it up, because they're going to have certain wrestler X is over wrestler Y. They're ranked 13. This one's ranked 14, yet number 14 gets the title shot. Number 13 doesn't. No one ever explains why. They can't even go a week or two without violating their own brand split rules. And now the brand split's dead quietly. So I just have my concerns about them following their own damn rules. I don't dislike it in theory, but either you follow it or you don't. The other thing is, ranking system's fine, which would also inherently put more emphasis and more importance on wins and losses that we've been told forever don't matter in pro wrestling, but all of a sudden they would. They need to be very careful about the wins and losses now, because what about DQ finishes? That'll come up. That'll look like an L in the L column. That'll be tallied in the loss column for a DQ that otherwise they wouldn't have thought about. They wouldn't even have given it 2 seconds of thought about doing a disqualification finish, and all of a sudden they have to realize now, wait, there is more weight to that decision, because the person that takes the disqualification is going to have a loss, which would affect that person's ranking. This is a big thing to implement. This is not just that'd be cool. Because if you're going to do a ranking system, is it going to be done by wins and losses? If it's done by wins and losses, they better look out. If it's not done by wins and losses, how are they going to rank people? Is it done by fans voting? You got to be careful. But I don't hate it per se, but it's the execution and consistency of staying within their own rules that I have concerns with. The last thing that you asked about was Orton versus Reigns. I don't dislike your idea about RK Bro and they lose, which we all believe they're going to at Backlash, and then you have Orton go after Reigns. If Reigns is the reason that both of them lose, distraction finish, whatever, and then Orton goes after him, then it breaks up RK Bro. I mean, you absolutely, you could have him do that. And the thing is, right now you have Orton in a babyface role, you have Reigns in a heel role. I think those rules are fine. It works well. They're both on opposite ends. But the problem is they're on opposite brands. So are we fully going brand split being dead? I mean, because it's already got 5 nails in the coffin out of 7. Because you have to do that, right? You have to completely cross brands, and what do they do there? They just go, yeah, well, they're feuding. We're not going to worry about the brand split. So if the brand split has any integrity left, will they address that or not? But I don't hate it per se. I think that's a good program for Reigns to get into. And honestly, isn't that the point of him being the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion, that he can go on any brand? It opens up a whole new roster instead of just cycling through the same people on SmackDown. Now the entire roster is open to him. But anyway, thank you, buddy. Let's continue on with the last few voicemails here.
What's up, WWE Podcast? This is Randy, the patron from Prospect, Connecticut. Usually I would write in, kind of on my break a little bit from work, so we're going to do an email today, give somebody else the first chance to Patreon. Anyway, so Asuka comes back. The funny thing is, she's actually not that bad at English. If you go and listen to her YouTubes, she does actually speak English words, but they just, for some reason in WWE, don't allow her to say them, because they think everybody likes that, and then she says the one, nobody's ready for Asuka. No, I kind of like her to speak some more words, because I didn't understand a clue of what she said until she said, ready for Asuka. So that was the only thing I understood. But I'm glad she's back. The women's division, I feel like, is going to start getting better. We still have Bayley. And I know you don't watch NXT, Matt, because I know obviously you have no time. But there's a lot of women in that division that could get called up that can make this division a lot better. So what do you think about the future of the women's division? That's the question. And the Randy Orton celebration thing was really cool. I enjoyed it. When do you think, if anything, they would break the team up? Do you really think they would do it for like a SummerSlam? Because the way it's looking, honestly, I really think they're going to keep them together for a long time. I don't know. So that's pretty much all I had today. Kind of doing it quick. Like I said, I'm on break from work. I hope everybody's doing good. Love the fact that everybody writes in every week. The usual DJ Kuzmo. And also, I love the trash segment. That it's hilarious. Those guys are great. And I'll talk to you next time.
Hey, Randy. Well, I didn't see your voicemail buried in there. I would have placed you a little bit higher next to DJ here. So my apologies. But thanks, Randy, for calling in this week. And I did not know about Asuka knowing more English. And that's because, as you said, I mean, you check out our YouTube channel. I haven't. And if that's the case, shame on WWE. I mean, I just ranted about, Shinsuke and Asuka not learning more English. And if it's WWE who are purposefully playing on stereotypes of them not being able to speak and no speak English and all that, which was actually really hilarious a few years ago with Shinsuke, there was more to that. I mean, they could have honestly made an entire t-shirt out of that. Not in today's culture, but they could have at the time. And it was just funny. But now you have Asuka, who apparently, as you said, and I'll take it at face value, that she speaks much better English than she's coming across as a character on TV. Shame on WWE. Shame on them. Not that I'm offended by it. Okay, I'm not offended on her behalf or something like that. I'm just shame on them for not allowing her to be maximized by just communicating with her effing audience. If that's the case, then that's all on WWE. So, as far as, let's see, you had one last question here. Or two questions. Future of the women's division, I'm optimistic. And that's optimistic without, who, Ronda Rousey. I don't want her anywhere near the women's division. She's not the baddest woman on the planet anymore. What exactly makes her the baddest woman on the planet? Somebody that hasn't competed in MMA in how many years? Somebody that got her ass kicked in MMA and then just disappeared because she got her tummy hurt and her feelings hurt and her ego hurt, so she just went into hibernation. What exactly makes her the baddest woman on the planet? Because we're told so? Yeah, I'm not buying that narrative anymore. I mean, here's the thing. As much as I rail on Ronda Rousey and how bad she is at promos and the fact that we don't need her and her arrogance about getting angry that the name women is in the women's championship, all that garbage that she spews and all the stuff she puts on social media, the disrespect she shows the business. If she was a heel, I would be singing a different tune. I think they should explore her as a heel because I think there's money to be made there because she's naturally a complete narcissistic human being. And that's all. So when will they break up RK Bro? I mean, we all keep predicting it. It's like predicting The Undertaker's retirement, I feel like, at this point. I mean, how many years did all of us say, oh, this has got to be Undertaker's last year. It's got Undertaker's last year. It's got to be the last year. And it just kept going and going and going. And the next thing you know, it's 20 years later and it's WrestleMania 36 that he finally called it a day in a cinematic match with AJ. But honestly, I mean, I was going to say the WrestleMania Backlash when they lose the belts, and I think they will lose the belts. But maybe the seeds could be slightly planted there. But I think ultimately the earliest is probably SummerSlam. Here's the thing. They don't come across a tag team like this every day. They don't come across a tag team that is and could be the main event of every single Monday Night Raw. How often does that happen? And they put these two together not with the intent of having this happen. They probably put these two together with the intent of having them break up very quickly. Randy was going to turn. Boom, you get a great match out of these two and you move on. They caught lightning in a bottle accidentally. This fell into their lap. And I think that they're going to milk it for everything that it's got. And that means merchandise. And until the crowd starts to turn on them, I think that they're going to continue until things start to wane and it's like, okay, it's time. I think you're looking at SummerSlam, honestly. I mean, that's the earliest now. I mean, well, I'd say the earliest is WrestleMania Backlash, but that's looking less and less likely. I think the most likely landing spot is in August at SummerSlam. So, all right. Thank you, Randy. Let's get to our final two voicemails and see who they are. Let's do it.
Hey, Matt, it's Kyle from New York, Kyle again. So just curious, did you hear about the NXT? They're having the NXT Women's Breakout Tournament in 2 weeks. If you don't know, it's basically a tournament they have every year for the men. It's the first time ever they're doing it for the women, and basically the winner gets a title shot of their choosing. Have you heard that one of the women that's going to be in it, that's debuting, is going to be Santino Marella's daughter. So that's interesting. I don't know what else to talk about. It's actually Wednesday today, the day of your mailbag, so I didn't know what to say. Another thing, news that came out today. Do you hear Jimmy Uso got another DUI arrest? This man has a problem. I don't think he's getting released though because he's part of the bloodline. Like if he wasn't, this group is saving him. If he wasn't in this faction, he would be gone already. He would have been gone like the first time it happened. This is like the fourth time it's happened, I think. I think it's happened to Jey Uso like once. This is Jimmy's like fourth time. It's getting crazy. He needs to go to rehab or something. I love Randy Orton's 20th anniversary celebration. That was fun. I don't want RK Bro to break up. I know you want it, I don't want RK-Bro to break up. They're just so good together. Randy's the best right now. I just don't want them to break up. I love RK-Bro. So, but it will be fun to see if it does happen. I just don't want it to happen yet. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say. So, thanks as always. I'll talk to you next week.
Kyle, okay, you brought something to my attention. I feel like a total, like an idiot for not realizing it. I saw footage of Jimmy Uso in a DUI, and I'm like, oh, that's probably the old footage. It was floating around, you know. That I was Googling it. As I was listening to your voicemail, I'm like, holy crap! How did I miss this? Or how did I think it was some old footage from, you know, when he got his DUI again? Wow. Okay, so this is big news, and I can't believe I'm just, you know, just coming across this. And this is something that's crazy. I mean, I honestly thought that it was old footage. I'm reading articles right now, as you would imagine. That's why I seem a bit distracted. It happened in Pensacola. Jimmy Uso gets a DUI. Oh my God. How? And yeah, this is crazy because WWE probably wants to give this guy the pink slip. They are making him he's going to make WWE look bad. They don't want this on their hands. This is how many DUIs for Jimmy Uso. Not good look for the company to continue to keep him. This tells me, this actually changes things for me in a big way. Because if they put the belts on them, what was that say to WWE? Not only do they keep him on the roster, they make him a champion. Okay. You just like opened my eyes, Kyle, that this was something that happened recently. And that tells me that this is probably going to be a Uso loss. Am I missing this, though? Is this just a story? Did the footage just get leaked from a year or two ago, and that's what people are making a big deal about? Or did the actual DUI happen, and the footage was leaked, too? So, I'm trying to figure this out. So Jimmy Uso, I'm reading this from TMZ Sports. TMZ Sports says WWE star Jimmy Uso got so upset with an officer who arrested him for a DUI back in July. Okay. He straight up called the guy an a-hole during the stop. In the footage, you also see Uso, whose real name is Jonathan Fatu, seemed to be triggered by a comment. Officer made him. Okay, so, yeah, this is clearly a not a good look. So it didn't just happen, but the footage was released. It happened on July 5th, 2021. Okay, so I made a big deal about nothing, but it just got regurgitated. Okay. So maybe we can all take a chill pill, but if you read, it's actually footage that got leaked or released from a July 5th, 2021 DUI stop in Pensacola, Florida. So there. Okay, well, let's continue on. Oh, the women's breakout tournament. Women get title. A woman who wins gets a title shot of their choosing. That's cool because what if it's the women's SmackDown Women's Championship or the Raw Women's Championship, or maybe it is just the NXT? But I did not pay attention to that. You guys need to keep me up to date on this NXT stuff, and I appreciate that. But yeah, good stuff. Thank you, Kyle. I am optimistic about the women's division as a whole. I really am. I think that there's a lot of talent that's in NXT that when they come up, like Raquel Rodriguez, who is good. Boy, she's a tall woman. She's a big woman. And, like, in shape, she's a big girl. Like, she kicked my ass, let me tell you that. But all right. Thank you, buddy. Let's continue on with the final voicemail of the night.
What's up, Matt? It's Rocky T here from Houston, Texas again, a.k.a. the Houston Silver Fox. I just want to say thanks for the shout-out you gave me for getting the Patreon account. Originally, my email is the Evan and Matthews Collectible Toy Collection, but when I went to my Patreon account, I changed it, and then you gave me the Houston Silver Fox shout-out, so thank you for both of that. I'm enjoying the Patreon on the website a lot. I can't wait to get into the next Premium Live event to the Discord server. I just want to say that I really enjoy you and Anthony's current state of WWE podcast that y'all are doing. I really liked it a lot. And I just want to touch down real quick. I agree that it was a mistake unifying the belts. Roman is the only person that could do double duty. I wish they didn't unify them. That way it would be easy for him just to drop the WWE title to somebody on Raw and then continue the streak of having the Universal title, all the way until the program with Rock or whoever they're going to build up to take him down. So I just wanted to see what your opinion or your thoughts would be if anybody on the current roster, like you said, no time machine, just as of today's booking, who would you have Roman drop the titles to? I mean, let's say, God forbid, everything, Roman, has to take a leave of absence again because of his leukemia issue. Who would they drop the titles to? The unified titles to? Top of my head, Rollins could do double duty. Of course, it's a short list, but besides Rollins, who else would you have take Roman's place if, God forbid, something else would to happen? And just thanks for telling me about your collection, about Universal title. You got the red one. I'm thinking about getting the miniature of the blue one, but haven't decided. And also, a little shout out to Detroit Kyle. I think I might take up his offer about that promo versus promo in Discord server this month. So, let me practice some promos and think about it. But I hope I got the voicemail in time this week. It's after dinner time, and it's Wednesday night, so hopefully you get it. All right? Thanks.
Hey, Rocky from Houston, Texas. I'm glad you joined us on Patreon, buddy, and I hope you enjoy your experience. Enjoy all the ad-free stuff, right? Nothing to bother you, nothing to cramp your style, right? No having to skip through or sigh that, oh my God, another ad is here, because you get everything ad-free for $1. Not bad. But hey, let's jump into your questions. And I'm glad, well, first of all, I'm glad you enjoy our current state of WWE podcast. We're probably going to continue that for a little while. We did What If for a while, and then we're like, we have so much to talk about that's relevant, that's current. Let's talk about the current product right now, because everybody's watching the current product. That's what's on their minds. Therefore, it's been successful, no doubt about it. So thank you for that. Now, as far as today's booking, who would I have Roman drop the belt to if there's no time machine? Everything is as is right now. Okay, well, first of all, Rollins. I mean, you just said it. Seth Rollins, how he has not become champion over the last year is somebody needs to be brought up on charges. Someone's going to jail for this. I mean, it's an absolute crime. But the other person would be Drew McIntyre. I know it's not an interesting choice, but it'd be the right choice. Drew McIntyre and or Seth Rollins. That's it. That's it. Like you said, it's a short list, and those are the two on that short list for me. Name another person that's worthy of that. That you could say, oh my God, okay, after this historic run, that is definitely worth it. That person deserves it. That's believable. There's really Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. That's it. So anyway, glad you called in. I hope you're all doing well too down there in good old Texas. And continue with your collection. Let me know what else. Let me know what other stuff you get. If you get another belt, get another action figure. I'm curious to see what you guys all got out there. Hey, I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff. I can't be spending frivolous cash I don't say frivolous. I mean it in a way that's like I've got kids and wife and house and I'm all that kind of stuff, and it's hard for me to splurge. But when I do, I will say my victory over the last week actually was getting a PlayStation 5. After 2 years of it being out, nearly 2 years, I think it dropped in November of 2020, I finally got a PlayStation 5. So yay for me. I hear the applause, and everybody calm down, not all at once. And I did get the PS5 version of WWE 2K22. It's awesome, I gotta say. Like 2K22 is a very good wrestling game, video game, no doubt about it. If you don't have 2K22, if you have a PlayStation 4 and you don't have 2K22 and you're a wrestling fan, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? Let's take it a level higher. You need to think about your life at this point. So, all right. Well, thanks, Rocky. I appreciate it. Thanks to everybody who called in this week. A lot of voicemails this week, a lot of emails, and I do appreciate everybody's support. We're running on an hour and a half here, and that's about right. So everybody, thanks so much. Again, if you want to go ad-free, go to Apple Podcasts. We've got an ad-free experience right there, or you can do 99 cents a month or $9.99 for the whole year. That's 2 months for free. You can go to our website and join us on go VIP there at WWEpodcast.com. Everything ad-free plus video plus the After Dark show that'll be dropping tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow, as well as joining us on patreon.com/WWEpodcast for ad-free, and give us a 5-star rating anywhere that you can. It does help out the show. So thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it. I'm sorry again that this is late. I will try to be more consistent, but the mailbag is by far the most, by far, and I mean this with love, I really do, I seriously do, it's the most manual labor intensive show that I do because of stitching all the audio together, downloading the voicemails, putting them together, responding to them. Like it's a lot. It's just a fact. I'm not complaining, but that's why it was late, and I was absolutely just completely burned out yesterday. So anyway, I will be back on Sunday with the weekend review. And then don't forget, next week is Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan for the mailbag, for the emails. Anyway, I'll be still doing the voicemails. All right, everybody, thanks so much for listening. As always, take care. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.